Well, hello. Hello, my beautiful fellow sensitive people. It is good to have you here at the stream as we slowly, gently make our way to 100,000 subscribers. Thanks so much for your membership. Well, there's a lot going on in the news. As many of you know, it's been announced that Hamas and Israel has an agreement for a ceasefire, and the hostages will be returning back on Monday, and then Israel will pull back from Gaza. However, I don't think that people totally understand what's going on, but that's what's going on publicly. There's a lot more going on. Certainly, terrorists cannot continue to be in control of Gaza. It's a psychopathic death cult. So this was how it would probably play itself out. Play itself out if you just looked at it objectively. And if you're thinking in terms of least amount of deaths calculated, if what you're doing, this is December 20th, 2023, and you're asking yourself, what can I do to make sure that people don't die? How do we stop people from dying? How do we reduce the amount of deaths? So we now are at ceasefire, and the next phase, what you'll be seeing is an exchange of hostages for Hamas. And the people being released, by the way, the Hamas prisoners, many of them are homicidal killers that are responsible for major terrorist attacks. It's very likely, when you just look at it objectively, it's very likely that what will happen is that Hamas will go to a host country, that they will choose to leave and not, because they cannot remain disarmed without any powership and leadership in Gaza. So probably them and their families leave, would be about 350,000 people will leave. What's left are the orphans of Gaza, the people that lost family, loved ones, friends, etc. And so at that point, aid organizations have to come in, and this is where programs like Oasis One would come in. These types of organizations that come in to help adopt the orphans and create a more integrated society. We have the technocrats, we have foreign governments coming in, creating a kind of Middle East NATO just to keep the area safe while they build a functioning society. The next phase we'll be able to see after that is once they get Gaza, when they get on path with Gaza, the next phase we'll start to see is Putin most likely arrested or removed in some capacity. Either Putin will be forced into retirement or he will face criminal prosecution. And the next phase after that, we will likely see the fall of Iranian leadership. And I think the reason why the fall of the Iranian leadership comes out after the fall of Putin is because they're in a much better, believe it or not, they're in a better economic situation and they're less vulnerable than Russia right now. And I don't anticipate that Russia or Iran will be part of the Abraham Accords under their current leadership. So that's where we're headed. In terms of people being forced to go to Rafah, the reason why people are going to Rafah is because more than likely the gate is going to be opened, the Rafah gate, and we're going to see a new location open up for people to live in outside of Rafah, or what I like to call Zone 1 Sinai. At that point, once Hamas clears and the area is safe, we could see land rented, that Egypt offers land to the people of Gaza where they can live, rebuild, and possibly create a wider space, a larger amount of land for the people of Gaza. But that's most likely how it will play itself out. The question I've been getting a lot of is, how is Trump's health? We know that Trump is going to be at Walter Reed later in the week for another annual, even though he seems to be having them every couple of months. How convenient, right? How convenient that Donald Trump seems to constantly have to be seeing the doctor. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and do the impasse prayer. If you haven't had a chance to like, share, and subscribe, I'd very much appreciate it if you would. So we're going to go ahead and do the impasse prayer, and then we're going to try and find out what's going on with Mr. Trump and with his health and with the fact that he's going to see the doctor. I think it's Friday. All right, let's do it. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together we say, Amen. Let's go in. All right, news about Trump's visit to Walter Reed and how is his health? Any information we can get, Spirit, on Trump's health would be greatly appreciated. I don't know, it certainly, if he was being pushed out the door and knew that he was going to be pushed out the door, he would want to get the Gaza deal beforehand because he really thinks he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for this. Oh my God, that gives me such a chuckle. All right. There we go. That's nice. All right. I think the main issue I get with Donald Trump, when I look at his cards over and over again, if you're asking me just intuitively, not as a doctor, but just intuitively for entertainment purposes only, we're just having fun. The evidence suggests that he's losing his mind. Yeah. This is a card, Three of Pentacles. It's called a blueprint card. The card, it's like a blueprint. It has to do with real estate and building things. In a way, we build a person's chart by doing an intake, physical exam. We run labs, we do imaging, and then as a result, we come up with a diagnosis or evidence of what the cause of the condition is. The evidence, what the summary of the case is, the foundation we've built. And so that's often what I think about when I see the Three of Pentacles, is that Three of Pentacles is like, okay, here is the summary of the work, showing the data of the skeleton, the bones of what we've got going on here, right? The architecture or the skeleton. And what we have here, Seven of Cups, is an old man in the clouds. In his cups. Now, the history of the card. When this card was written, it was a horrible heroin addiction in the United States. And heroin was produced by the Bayer company, Bayer aspirin. And you could go and you could get it, I guess, in vials, or you have to cook it yourself, or I don't know. And then people would inject themselves. And so and it was thought to be harmless. And so what happened is that everybody was doing massive amounts of heroin, massive amounts of opium, going to opium dens all over the world. There is an aspect of opium that you see in this card, in the sense that the person is floating in a cloud, a dream cloud, and that dreamy kind of opium cloud is part of the imagery. The clouds, the opium, the poppies, the poppies. The thing also about Seven of Cups is that there's an aspect to it of delusion. It's the person who's floating in a cloud, like an opium dream. And it's everything that they dream they're going to be. You know, they see the sexy person the fantasy lover. They see ghosts and phantoms and demons. They see castles in the sand. They see gold and jewels and the crown of glory, that Nobel Peace Prize, but they also see that they're, the delusions as well, the devils and the demons and the etc. So, but my first hit or my first feeling, and if you're a tarot reader, it'd be great if what's your first hit? But we're asking about Donald Trump's health, and when you're looking at a card like an architecture card, like the Three of Pentacles, show me your data, show me your blueprint. And you've got this guy floating in Never Never Land. I'm thinking we ran some imaging. This is where my head is going. We ran some imaging and we found white matter. We found, stuff on the brain that would denote Alzheimer's, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, probably aging. There are factors that go into increasing your risk of Alzheimer's. Family history, I guess his dad had it. Aging and family history. Past history of certain types of drug use. Obesity and diabetes. So he has a lot of the things that we would flag for being at risk for Alzheimer's. But if I were to say anything about what takes this individual out as far as Article 25, it is unfit to serve due to cognitive decline with this type of just looking. The first is we have our final, actually, if you're taking class with me, the final is Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But what else did I want to say about this? I don't know what else I wanted to say. Yeah, just give me your opinion if you're a reader, but that's totally where my head is going here. All right, and where he is at right now, again, the Queen of Cups rubs her lamp and dreams. She lives in a world of dreams. And the crossing card is the sun is coming out. Yeah, so I think what I was going to say is that if they're going to issue Article 25 and they have the right to, at his age, the cabinet to see his medical records, and if they're using medical records as evidence to issue Article 25, it would be most likely due to cognitive decline that is so severe, it shows that he is in no position to be running the country. The sun is over the Queen of Cups, and he presents in the first house as the Queen of Cups, who's the dreamer. She lives, she rubs her lamp. It's interesting also that if you're talking about medical problems, it's someone who may be affected by water conditions, edema, kidney disease. You would start seeing aspects of the water element. But the sun is an exposure, the thing that crosses you or comes to meet you. And in this particular case, we're looking at evidence and we're looking at the sun or some kind of revelation over him. And there it is again. I keep seeing J.D. Vance as the King of Pentacles, as if it's inevitable. Look, they're further along. Here's the other thing I feel. His cabinet and people in positions of power are further along in thinking about getting rid of this guy than is public information. What he is sitting in, Hanged Man, giving up his presidency. His past placement, new beginning. He was going to be a contender, Four of Wands. He had real optimism. I think his health tanked. I think that it was something he put on the back burner. I think he was having all kinds of medical problems, and maybe he thought if he ignored them, they would go away. And now it's gotten to a point where it cannot be ignored. He's 80 years old. He's one of the oldest sitting presidents, if not the oldest we've ever had. And not a guy who took good care of himself. This is not somebody who this is not somebody he's not Jane Goodall. You know, Jane Goodall was a vegetarian. She never overate. She ate a very simple diet, lentils and toast, you know, or something simple. You know, she kept it very simple. That's the thing we find with people who live a long life. They keep their lives simple and uncomplicated. But Jane Goodall was a vegetarian, so and she just went to sleep. That was it. And when they came to get her, she had passed in the night. That's, they say, how the righteous die, right? She was 94 and decided, she, you know, she was done. She made her last statements and out she went. Whereas, you know, that's the death we all wish we could have, right? The death of the righteous, right? Where you just go to sleep. But this is more someone who is aware that time is running out. The other thing is that if he keeps going in and getting tested, age accelerates. The older we get, the faster we're aging. So the amount of aging you do from age 20 to 25 is not that great. But the amount of aging you do from 75 to 80 is significant. And from 80 to 85 is even more significant because your body deteriorates at an accelerated rate, excuse me, at an accelerated rate. And so for that reason, it could be that he's being monitored more closely, more often because of his age and because we do age more quickly from 80 to 81 than we did from 20 to 21, say. Okay, and the Queen of Swords is in his 7th house. So he's continuing to have legal issues with the courts, and his opposition is at war with him. You know, the other thing I found out when you go into this energy, and this is one of the cards I use for Zelensky, is you get the impression that when he loses a battle, he just stops talking about it. Like the fact that he got into a lot of trouble for not supporting Zelensky and the way he treated Zelensky. So his enemies in many ways win against him, whether it's Zelensky or his political rivals. There's this Empress, which he hopes and fears. An Empress is also known as a treasure trove. In a case of an investigation, it would be a treasure trove of information. It is abundant. It can also be money, the treasury, concerns about the economy, concerns about the treasury. But I don't feel that's what this is. I think that there is a load of stuff. This man has a load of secrets. Both that Empress is like his secrets. It's his treasure trove. This concern that when he dies, his secrets will come out. That's what it feels like. His secrets are going to come out when he dies. He won't be able to stop it from happening. Shown mercy, 6 of Pentacles. Shown mercy and 6 of Pentacles. Fairness and justice. I think he's going to be given the honor of resigning. I really do. It's the end of the road for him. The Knight of Pentacles is moving into 7th position, indicating that he's slowing down. His opposition in war mode. He keeps getting these wands, my space, boom, boom. Remember, wands are about territory, time, and space. And its elements are fire and wood. He has to give up also because he's lost the energy to fight certain people. And so he's got, his opposition is very fiery. He's got the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands after him. AOC could be very significant running for Senate in the future. You know, like I see this strong female energy coming in opposition to him. Hopes and fears his legacy. Always his legacy. He wants to, you know, if I'm going to die, I want to die with a Nobel Peace Prize, that I did something good with my life so that I don't go to hell for all the terrible things I did with Epstein, the things I did to all these terrible people, the people I stole money from. So he's got to have a win. And so the fact that he could get this peace deal, now if he loses it all, he'll always have that peace deal. And then the final outcome for him is Ace of Pentacles, a release of the money. So the other thing is, I'm seeing this need for him to see an end to the government shutdown. So the Six of Pentacles moving in with the Ace of Pentacles would lead me to suspect with these cards that the government shutdown will be over in about 5 to 7 days. Because Six of Pentacles is often associated with the House of Representatives, who disseminates the money and the purse, and then Ace of Pentacles is the final outcome. I think that there is a part of Trump where, and I don't know if it's because he's starting to realize his mortality and that he's almost out the door here, but we could be seeing him have to concede and give up certain battles, particularly when it comes to opening up the House and getting this budget passed, because that seems to be where we're headed. But more than likely, because there's a Knight of Pentacles there, he will resign, and the most likely cause is evidence that can be used against him to show he lacks the cognitive skill to continue. That is the underlining reason that he will be asked to resign. Yes, it could have diabetes. Yes, he could have coronary artery disease. And you can still serve effectively with those conditions. But if your brain is gone, and there's no cure for Alzheimer's, and it only gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, you can sustain somebody. You can help somebody maintain a relatively normal life, even if they have congestive heart failure. But if a person has progressive cognitive decline in addition to that, that's the point at which the cabinet is most likely to come in and say, this president can no longer serve. And that's precisely what we see with this card chart. But the good news, I would say, is within 5 days to a week, I'd be very surprised if we don't see them opening up and getting some kind of deal for the budget, because the Six of Pentacles and Ace of Pentacles remain as the outcomes. The Ace of Wands moving into sixth position right next to Vance. I think we're definitely moving towards a Vance presidency for a number of reasons. But this looks like a guy who's going to have to resign because he has cognitive decline, was always knowing that they were going to push him out the door, had secretly hoped that he could get the Gaza deal so he could get credit for it, so that he would have that one good thing before he's kicked out the door. And yeah, that's basically what I see. All right. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you haven't had a chance to do so yet, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. I'll see you next time, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.